This is Glenn here, and welcome to Blueprints to Buildings podcast. I'm your host, Glenn Palmer, the show where I interview the movers and shakers in the world of property development and real estate. Now, this show is sponsored by PropTech Metaverse Solutions, a new way that is changing how developments are visualized, marketed, and sold, and removes the need for outdated 3D models. We use this tech to save property developers up to 11% on construction costs, increase off-plan sales, and save between 8 and 12 weeks off concept timelines. To find out more, direct message me in LinkedIn at Glenn Palmer Secure or look in the show notes below. So today's guest is Greg Frucci. Am I saying that right, Greg?
You are. Thank you very much.
He's a US-based architectural designer, a photographer, and not only that, he's a storyteller whose work blends artistic soul with technical precision in bespoke residential projects. Greg, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. Welcome, and let's dive in, shall we?
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
You are more than welcome. So, this is a question that I ask pretty much every single one of my guests, and it's if time travel became a reality and you had a chance to go back in time to who you are when you first started your career as an architect, what advice would you give the person you are now? What would you tell your younger self?
Run screaming the other way. No, I'm kidding. Let me tell you a story,
Yeah,
if you don't mind.
by all means, yeah.
So, I wish that I had the ability to go back in time and tell myself to just go with it, dude. Just go with the flow. Know that everything's going to work out in the end. You're going to learn so much as you progress through your years. Just like we were talking before the podcast started. Yeah, I mean, I recently turned 65 years old, and the older I get, the more I realize, the less that I know.
Yeah.
Someone said that, I don't know who, but the story is I went to an architecture school. I went to a university that taught architecture um, from an artistic standpoint. Basically, we were told, don't worry about it. We don't care if it falls down in reality. We just want you to design something cool.
Yeah.
Just create cool shit, basically. Pardon my French.
No, that's all right. Just don't worry about it.
But that's what it was. And so and I found once I got out of architecture school that architecture schools are not all the same. 180 degrees polar opposite from the school that I went to are the schools that they tell you the exact opposite, which is, yes, you're going to design per the parameters, but it damn well better stand up.
Mm,
You're going to submit calculations, blah, 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 blah. And then everything else is in between, right? So I went to this school that was very artistically oriented, which I thought was great. I came up with cool shit. I didn't care if it stood up or not. I
yeah.
did take structural lessons. I did take HVAC lessons. They were preparing us. But when it came to studio, when it came to creativity, they were trying to blossom the artists within us, right?
Yeah.
And so, after 5 years ish of doing that, I get my first job. I'm in my mid 20s, and I'll never forget it. My boss pulled me into his office and he was like, "Look, Greg, we all know where you went to school. You need to forget everything that you just learned, because from now on, it's all about cranking out as quickly as you can. Um, quality architecture. It doesn't have to be artistic. It just needs to look okay, so that the firm makes money." And it
Yeah.
crushed that one lecture from my boss crushed me for about 20 years.
I can imagine.
It took me that long to like get over it, right? so I would go back and tell myself, just listen to them, but don't take to your heart exactly what anybody says.
Yeah.
You know, just be you.
Yeah.
If you're an artist, be an artist. No matter what you do, just create, and don't let that kind of stuff get to you.
Yeah. 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 And moving on from that, Greg, you describe your homes as the temples of the soul. So, how do you balance your emotional, artistic vision with technical and construction realities when working with your clients?
Wow. That's a great question. And I love it because architecture really is a blend of art and science. It totally is.
Yeah,
Another little catchphrase that I use is architecture is occupiable sculpture. You
I
know,
like it.
if this is a piece of sculpture, I can look at it, and I can, analyze it, but I can't get inside of it. Architecture is something that I can get inside of,
Yeah,
So, from that standpoint, and it's and these kinds of discussions are the kinds of discussions that I would have with my clients,
yeah,
and in fact, um, I have a questionnaire. It's in three parts, and the first part is basically programming. What do you want? How many bedrooms do you want? What kind of appliances do you want in your kitchen? All of the stuff that we as architects and designers need, to create something in a whole. And then the second part, is it goes a little bit deeper, into the psyche of that person.
yeah.
And then the third part is even it's basically kind of crazy. It's like, what pisses you off? Like, I want to, because I want to get into somebody's head. I want to, and so, from a science standpoint, from a structural engineering standpoint, all of that data that I coalesce into one thing and then try to turn into a piece of architecture. Notice I didn't just say art, but a piece
Mm,
of architecture, which is the combination of the two.
yeah,
You know, it allows me to have fun with the structural engineer who isn't necessarily going to look at this from an artistic standpoint. Most structural engineers don't.
yeah.
And but the ones that I deal with, it doesn't matter where they are in on their journey, as
Mhm.
structural engineers. It's a coalescence of, science and art into this occupiable piece of sculpture.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
yeah. I like it. I like the way that you explain things. So, given the rise of sort of digital tools, sustainability, all this hybrid working, where do you see the residential architecture evolving in the next decade? And this is especially in terms of client expectations and then the design process. Where do you think that's leading?
You know, it's interesting you said next decade. And I just want to pull back from that just a second. I would say, because if you and I had this discussion 10 years ago, we could
Yeah,
talk about the next decade. But we're in a place now where instead of saying the next 10 years, we need to be talking about the next 2 to 5 years.
yeah. It's
You know,
it's
in looking at it in the same way, maybe even less, with especially with the advent of all of these fun AI things. And I do think it's fun, by the way.
yeah,
Um, so I'm a rep. I use Revit. When I was in my early 40s, it was the early 2000s, and I wasn't doing residential architecture. I was working for a firm that did schools,
yeah.
and Revit came out. So I learned on the boards. Pre-computers, pre-AutoCAD. AutoCAD was nobody, I'd never heard of it.
Mm-mm.
In 1978 through, I graduated in 1984, and I believe AutoCAD came out in 83 or 84 or something like that. It was their early 80s.
Yeah, yeah.
But I never had to deal with it. and I didn't want to. I thought that black background with all of those funky colors and just didn't make any sense to me. Just give me a pen or a pencil and a piece of paper and I'm good, you know. But then Revit came out. And I worked for a firm and we were one of the early adopters of one of the earliest versions of Revit. And I hope I'm not screwing anything up by talking about a specific
No,
uh,
no, no.
software,
Crack
but
on.
uh, and then I just but now Revit is just so much fun.
Yeah,
I stepped away from architecture for about 12 years. Did some acting, did some sailing, wrote and published a couple of books, and then I kind of got back into it because I ended up in a place where everybody knew me as Greg Frucci, the architect. So I downloaded the current version. This was 2017. Downloaded the current version of Revit. Quickly got up to snuff, and just was just like, oh my God, this is so much fun. So where do I see it going in the next 10 years? I have no freaking clue in the next 10 years. And in the next 2 to 5 years, I can see Revit taking off parabolically.
yeah,
Just like AI is now in that, it's taking off parabolically.
yeah,
And so everything is kind of going with it, as computers take off, as software takes off, as AI takes off. I, I don't know, man. I I would be if I was 20 years old right now, or if I was, in architecture school, I would be so freaking excited because of
yeah,
what's coming. I would not be afraid of AI taking my job, because that's the one thing is, we're still artists are still out there. Artists will still be able to create. Even as a photographer, people are like, "Aren't you afraid AI is going to, you know, take away from photography?" I'm like, no,
no,
because that moment that I have with that bird or that whatever, that sunset is still it's unique
yeah,
to that one moment in time, And so if you're my client, um, no matter if it's Revit or whatever the next cool thing is in combination with AI, whatever it is, we're still going to work together and we're still going to be able to quickly pull stuff out,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know. So there's this, and I think that's probably the biggest thing is the whole time in the game thing. I
yeah,
mean, uh, it would be so cool to be able to have a team of people, right there that I could send a Revit file to, and then you're just like you come up with all of these renderings and everything else, and pull in all of the stakeholders all at once. So instead of something taking a month, it now takes an afternoon.
yeah,
That's where
yeah,
it's going.
yeah. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that very, very easily. Certainly with certain technologies out there, and how things are getting so quick and so easy and so effective. But like you say, it's especially with AI, a lot of people are scared of AI, thinking that it's not going to take that it's going to take their jobs. Me personally, I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's just going to be an extension of what we are, and
Yes.
it's going to help us.
Yes.
So. In the US market, what regulatory zoning or market constraints do you often run into that frustrate bringing your visionary designs to light? Are there any, or is there something that just niggles you and just thinks, man, I wish this was fucking easier. Sorry, you got
No,
me
it's okay.
swearing now.
I want to. So there used to be a lot of them. I will say even all the way into my 40s. When I mean I practiced solid for more than 20 years, and you know ADA used to drive me crazy when it first came out. Trying you got to deal with a 5 foot rate circle and all of this stuff. You got to have a foot or a foot and a half on one side of a door, handle, blah 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 blah. Just on down the line, and it used to needle the crap out of me, all of it.
Yeah,
Just because because in my arrogant way, I did not want to be controlled. I did not want to be constrained. I wanted to be free. I live in the land of the free, blah, 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 blah. Well, now I take the opposite approach.
Yeah.
I not only do I not see myself as the creator or the designer or the architect of whatever this thing is, I see myself as a co-creator. I'm in the like if you even if it's just you and me, you're my client. You and I are co-creating something for you, and
Hmm.
it's yours. It's not my design. It's ours, you know? And if there's so the thing about I mean, like we were talking about before we got started today on the podcast, there's a hurricane offshore from where I live. I'm in northern Florida. Actually, there's two out there. There's Umberto and Imelda, and but we're not going to get hit. It's going to go up the coast, it'll stay offshore, and then head out to sea, which is great. Bermuda might get affected, um, but when what was the hurricane that hit Miami? It's right on top, right on the tip of my tongue. Can't believe it. Anyway, it created all of the um, uh, rules and regulations and codes that
Hmm.
we need to use to design buildings that will stand up
Yeah.
in lateral and horizontal lateral forces above the ground, wind, basically, right? And so, thank God. I am in gratitude for those things that used to needle me. You know,
Yeah.
I guess if I had to pick one, and there kind of is one, um, although I see the logic behind it, and that is stair handrails. I mean, I love a good stairway that doesn't have a handrail, but um, from a
You
life
can't,
safety
yeah, you can't have some kid
standpoint,
falling
it's
off
just
and breaking their neck.
exactly. So that's kind of a joke, but I get it.
Yeah.
Seriously though, there's nothing needles me anymore.
Man,
It just
that's a good outlook to have, not to get frustrated or bogged down by, the little nitty-gritty things. I wish I was like that. I wish I could just say, well,
well, but
based
here's
around.
the thing, I mean, it's just, I can spend my time being upset about something that I can't change.
Yeah.
And where's that going to get me?
Yeah.
No,
No.
I might as well just like accept it and know that I can't change it. The only thing that I can change about it is my attitude towards it.
Yeah.
And so I'm changing my attitude towards it. And I'm like, all right, if that's the rule, I'm going to copy down that rule and I'm going to go down my list and I'm going to incorporate it in. Everything's all good.
Yeah. Nice. So, this leads me on to the next question, right? Because as an architect, as someone deeply rooted into the visual art, the photography, the narrative, how important do you think like immersive visual experience, like 3D walkthrough, story-based renders, how are they helping clients feel confident before even a single brick has even been laid?
It is just, it's so important. That's probably one of the most important things that you can do, right?
Yeah,
Again, pre-computers, when I was on the boards, if I wanted to show a three-dimensional view of my project, it would take me days to create just one perspective view with this and a piece of paper, you
yeah,
know? And uh, you- and when I work with my own clients in residential design, because of Revit, I also use Chaos Inkscape 3D,
yeah, yeah,
which is brilliant because I can create a QR code, send them a QR code, they can grab the QR code on their phone, and now they're in the room, and they're like walking around going, "Oh, no way, yes, no, we don't want to do that. We want to do this over here." So, y- um, my God, if there's something like that, that's part of the team, part of the entire team.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, this a client is just going to have question after question after question. And if you can answer one question, which will lead to an even deeper question with even better answers, it's just going to make the final project that much better.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, it's so important. And the fact that we're there now and then we have it, we can never go back to not having that.
Yeah. Well, I
You know,
agree. Yeah. So we've spoken about it quite a lot. You've spoken about quite a lot. So you already use the tools like Revit in your
Mhm.
practice. So if there was a way to integrate the visual, the biophaser storytelling into that workflow without losing that design control, do you think that that would enhance what your clients see and how they see the projects a lot earlier?
Absolutely. Without question. I mean,
Yeah.
there's not even a thought process involved in that one. That's the easiest question that you asked me the entire
That, that,
the
that,
entire time.
that was like a no-brainer.
That's a full body yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Greg, it's been fantastic to chat to you today. That's pretty much it for the show. Huge thank you to you, Greg, for joining me today. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show and learning from your experience and your insights. And then, of course, thank you to the listeners as well. And as a reminder, this show is sponsored by PropTech Metaverse Solutions, a new way that's changing how developments are visualized, marketed, and sold that removes the need for outdated 3D models. If you'd like to learn more, feel free to reach out to me directly on LinkedIn. You'll find the link under the show notes below. So thanks for tuning in to Blueprints to Buildings. I'm your host, Glenn Palmer. You were with Greg Frucci, and I'll see you in the next episode.